a meek-looking medical student, chooses to fight back against her professor's harsh insults on the spot. Before the professor could lose his temper, she takes off her lab coat, throws it in the trash, and walks away. Lee Hyo-ri scored top marks to enter the medical school at Korea University, but becoming a doctor was her mother's dream, not hers. After repeated abuse from her professor, she secretly dropped out without telling her mother. Her mother, Lee Ji-yeon, is the head of a construction site. Every day, she deals with groups of men. Not only must she coordinate work, but she also has to fawn over the incompetent new director. At the welcome party for the director, to keep the mood light, Lee Ji-yeon cracks jokes, drinks, and sings. She endures the men's vulgar, dirty jokes. After the party, despite being drunk, she forces a smile and politely sees the director out. Luckily, her friend who cooks at the site is there to support her. Then, her daughter Lee Hyo-ri comes to pick her up. Excited, Lee Ji-yeon grabs Lee Hyo-ri and introduces her to everyone. Her daughter, a top student in medical school, is her greatest pride. The lecherous director eyes Lee Hyo-ri up and down, making inappropriate remarks. Lee Hyo-ri quickly leads her mother away. On the way home, Lee Hyo-ri listens to her mother's complaints about the director, and endless ranting about work matters which she finds exhausting. After sobering up, Lee Ji-yeon immediately calls a worker who owes her money. She needs the money for Lee Hyo-ri's tuition, but the worker dodges her, claiming he has no money. At the construction site, Lee Ji-yeon faces another scolding from the director. She's only been tasked with inspecting the site for a short time. The unresolved issues left by her predecessor are all blamed on her. The director yells at her like a ticking bomb, demanding she fix it immediately. Her friend notices the director bullying her, goes over to hug her, and urges her to stay strong. On the way, Lee Ji-yeon calls the school, asking about the deadline for next semester's tuition. To her shock, she learns Lee Hyo-ri has dropped out. She calls her daughter in disbelief, hoping the school's administration made a mistake. But Lee Hyo-ri firmly tells her she's not suited for medicine, no longer wants to fulfill her mother's dream by forcing herself. She's now on her way out, and tells her not to call again. Lee Ji-yeon angrily complained to her friend. She was a single mother at 20. She had raised Lee Hyo-ri with great hardship. She had even sacrificed her whole life for Lee Hyo-ri. Yet Lee Hyo-ri didn't understand her efforts. At that moment, Lee Hyo-ri blocked her mother's number to avoid her nagging. She took a camper van to the seaside with her friend. The two laughed and played freely by the ocean. The next morning, Lee Hyo-ri and her friend continued their journey. They arrived at Qinghai village, which Lee Hyo-ri had always wanted to visit. Lee Hyo-ri had a strong sixth sense. Coming here might open a new chapter in her life. As soon as she said that, the car suddenly smoked and caught fire, breaking down. They quickly got out. Lee Hyo-ri wanted to call the insurance company, but her friend strongly stopped her. Her dad had borrowed the car without her mother's permission. If her mother found out, she'd be in trouble. Just as they didn't know what to do, two old men and a middle-aged man suddenly appeared from the fields. To show Qinghai village's helpful spirit, they immediately called someone to fix the car. When they learned the two hadn't eaten, the village chief prepared a big meal for them. Excited, her friend posted photos online. But Lee Ji-yeon's friend saw them. The two women had been searching everywhere for them. They quickly located the place in the photos and rushed over. Unaware, Lee Hyo-ri met the mechanic, called by the old man. When he turned around, her friend gasped he was a handsome middle-aged man. The woman introduced him as Ryu Jong-seok from the architectural firm next to the village. Then another young man stepped out of the car. He was Ryu Jong-seok's son, Ryu Bo-hyun. Ryu Bo-hyun told Lee Hyo-ri the car wasn't hard to fix, but without spare parts, it couldn't be repaired there. The village chief said open spaces were fine for parking, but at night, wild dogs and boars would appear there. Scared, Lee Hyo-ri softened her tone and begged Ryu Jong-seok for help. Ryu Bo-hyun relented. He agreed to let them park the car at his place. He'd buy parts in town tomorrow and fix it. No sooner had Lee Hyo-ri and her friend settled in the yard than Lee Ji-yeon stormed in with her friend. Lee Ji-yeon demanded to know why Lee Hyo-ri was ruining her life. Lee Hyo-ri said she never wanted to study medicine. Every day at school had been torture. After the two left, Lee Hyo-ri finally told her mother the truth. She had a brain tumor. Lee Ji-an was shattered by the sudden news. She immediately took Lee Hyo-ri to the hospital. The results confirmed Lee Hyo-ri's diagnosis, a brain tumor. The prognosis was grim. Lee Ji-an insisted Lee Hyo-ri be hospitalized immediately. But Lee Hyo-ri begged her mother not to force her. She just wanted to live quietly in Qinghai village until the end. That night, restless, Lee Ji-an called her friend. She mimicked Lee Hyo-ri's tone, asking, "Is this how life should go on?" Her friend sensed something was wrong. She rushed over, asking what happened. Lee Ji-an's pent-up emotions burst out. She helplessly told her friend about Lee Hyo-ri's tumor. The friend couldn't believe how cruel fate was to Lee Ji-an. She hugged Lee Ji-an and cried loudly, "Why Lee Hyo-ri? Why always her?" Lee Ji-an's tears came rushing down. She hated herself for not noticing her daughter's illness, for letting her go to the hospital alone, for being powerless to change fate. Lee Ji-an went to the hospital to discuss Lee Hyo-ri's treatment options. The doctor recommended immediate surgery, but at a hefty cost. Lee Ji-an was currently suspended from work. To earn money for the operation, she couldn't afford to lose her job. So she humbly took the director out to dinner, begging to be reinstated. The sneaky director still blamed her for the previous colleague's unresolved issues. He insisted on firing her. Lee Ji-an could no longer stay calm. She lashed out, calling the director a useless, empty-headed drunk. She warned him to process her resignation properly. If he tried to sabotage her, she'd take him to court at all costs. Meanwhile, Lee Hyo-ri was watching Ryu Bo-hyun fix the car. He told her he felt uncomfortable being watched. He suggested she explore the village instead. Once she left, Ryu Bo-hyun admitted to his father he'd bought the wrong parts. He asked his father to go to town and get the correct ones. The father immediately understood Ryu Bo-hyun had sent her away to save face. After buying the parts, Ryu Jong-seok boarded the return bus. Coincidentally, Lee Ji-an was on the same bus. The bumpy ride caused Lee Ji-an's fruit to spill. Ryu Jong-seok helped her. The driver braked suddenly. Lee Ji-an lost balance and fell into Ryu Jong-seok's arms. Their eyes met. They recognized each other as someone very special. Back when Lee Ji-an was a student, she was laughing loudly with friends on a bus. A sudden break made her lurch forward. Just as she was about to fall, a boy reached out and caught her. That boy was Ryu Jong-seok. Lee Ji-an fell for him at first sight. Normally bold and daring, she took her friends to Ryu Jong-seok's classroom. They danced and held up banners, declaring their love. Ryu Jong-seok was mortified by the teasing, but he couldn't help glancing at Lee Ji-an. Their long-lost first love reunited after years apart. Lee Ji-an openly shared their past. Her words couldn't hide her nostalgia for youth. When Ryu Jong-seok realized Lee Ji-an was here to take her daughter, he guessed Lee Hyo-ri was her child. He quickly brought her to his home. Lee Hyo-ri saw Lee Ji-an and immediately tried to run away. Lee Ji-an chased after her, begging her to return to Seoul. Lee Hyo-ri snapped, asking why she had to control her life. Since childhood without a father, Lee Hyo-ri knew she had to work 1,000 times harder for what she wanted. But fate dealt her a cruel blow. During clinical training with a professor, she suddenly collapsed without warning. When she woke up, the doctor told her she had a brain tumor. Lost and scared, she helplessly turned to her mother for help. But before she could speak, her mother reminded her she was living only for her daughter. She wanted Lee Hyo-ri to become a great doctor quickly, so she could retire at 50. Lee Hyo-ri saw her mother's muddy shoes. The words stuck in her throat. She swallowed all her pain and went to her room to cry. Guilty for burdening her mother, angry that her mother never noticed her struggles. Now, hearing her mother beg her to return to Seoul, she pleaded not to be forced. Hospitalization meant going from a doctor to a patient. She needed time to accept that change. Suddenly, heavy rain fell. Lee Ji-an stood in the downpour, watching Lee Hyo-ri disappear. She cried like a lost child in the rain. Nearby, Ryu Bo-hyun witnessed the argument. He pitied the crying Lee Ji-an. He worried even more about Lee Hyo-ri's emotions. Lee Hyo-ri ran to the beach in the storm, cursing fate for her hardships. She waded into the water, screaming her frustration. Soon, she grew weak and collapsed in the waves. But she stopped struggling, letting herself sink. At the last moment, Ryu Bo-hyun jumped in. He dragged her back to shore with all his strength. Lee Ji-an took a shower and changed clothes. Ryu Jung-seok comforted her. He said menopause clashing with adolescence was tough. Both mother and daughter needed time to grow. Then Lee Ji-an saw Lee Hyo-ri return, soaking wet. Hearing she'd fallen into the water, she anxiously asked if it was an accident or intentional. She desperately wanted an answer, fearing Lee Hyo-ri might do something reckless. Lee Hyo-ri repeated her words. Even after surgery, there was no guarantee of time left. She just wanted to live freely for once. To ease the tension, Ryu Jung-seok cooked a hot meal for them. The warm atmosphere softened Lee Hyo-ri. She stopped being cold and instead spoke of her childhood dream. A house like Ryu Jung-seok's Pol-su Arkroshan, with windows opening to views, seasons changing clearly, life peaceful and simple. Ryu Jung-seok joked he'd help find them such a place. They could build their dream home together. Lee Ji-an said she was a single mother with no partner. Hearing this, Lee Hyo-ri pulled her mother outside. She asked her not to reveal their family situation so easily. Being a single mother wasn't something to be proud of. In school, she'd worked hard for top grades, to make classmates think twice before mocking her family. The two argued again. After Lee Hyo-ri left, Lee Ji-an remembered parent-teacher meetings. To make a good impression, she'd dress up nicely. Yet the parents beside her whispered how young she looked. Maybe she'd had Lee Hyo-ri in high school. They slandered her, calling her promiscuous. Lee Ji-an couldn't take it anymore. She fought back. They insulted her because they were jealous. Their dirty talk came from insecurity. She seemed strong in the moment, but later, she cried alone in the restroom. After that, to avoid gossip, she'd always preemptively announce she was a single mother. She refused to let others judge first. She never expected this would hurt Lee Hyo-ri instead. Ryu Bo-hyun took Lee Hyo-ri to his flower greenhouse to help cheer her up. Their conversation made them closer. The flowers lifted the gloom from Lee Hyo-ri's heart. Suddenly, Lee Ji-an got a message from her best friend. The co-worker who owed her money was celebrating his mother's 80th birthday. She could go collect the debt. Lee Ji-an hesitated. Lee Hyo-ri couldn't stand her mother being taken advantage of again. She asked Ryu Bo-hyun to drive them to collect the money. At the co-worker's home, Lee Ji-an steeled herself. No matter what excuses he made, she'd demand repayment. But to her shock, only 4 unsupervised hungry children were there. The eldest said their father had taken grandma to the hospital. Out of pity, the 3 helped with chores, drying bedding, and cooking. The eldest later confessed the truth. Their father hadn't taken grandma to the hospital. He was celebrating her birthday at a restaurant. At the restaurant, they saw the co-worker and elderly guests trying to make grandma happy. Only one dish graced the table. Lee Ji-an couldn't bring herself to ask for the money. She thought of being kicked out by her father, the hardships at the construction site. She didn't know whether to pity herself or them. But people always helped when she needed it most. Her best friend stood by her. Grandma gave her life savings. Her young daughter comforted her when she was exhausted. She told the co-worker, "Keep hope alive, this hardship will pass. You must stay strong for the children." She wouldn't demand the money back. The co-worker felt guilty and truly couldn't repay. To thank Lee Ji-an, he gave her the deed to his old house. It was worthless, but it was his way of helping with Lee Hyo-ri's treatment. Lee Ji-an had an idea. With Ryu Jung-seok, she visited the old house. It was in ruins, but she imagined it transformed, renovated, bright, with Lee Hyo-ri sitting on the porch, smiling in the sunlight. Lee Ji-an decided to stay in the village to accompany Lee Hyo-ri. Lee Hyo-ri rejected the kindness, urging her mother to return to work as soon as possible. Living together day and night would only make her feel uneasy. To get her mother to leave, Lee Hyo-ri called her mother's best friend. She pleaded for the friend to take her mother back. The friend agreed and was on her way. Lee Ji-an ignored the pleas. While buying groceries, she asked the vegetable shop aunt about the house at the foot of the mountain. The aunt mentioned that the house had been built with great ceremony, consulting geomancers, astrologers, and fortune tellers. But after construction, no one entered. It was like a haunted house. Still, Lee Ji-an's determination to renovate the house didn't waver. She prepared a lavish breakfast, inviting Ryu Jung-seok and his son to join. She also suggested that the two families eat together in the future. After the meal, Lee Ji-an whined and flattered, begging Ryu Jung-seok to help repair the house. Ryu Jung-seok firmly refused. He couldn't and wouldn't do it. Lee Ji-an begged loudly, stating she really wanted to make it happen. Their conversation happened to be overheard by the aunts. The women mistook it for private matters between a couple. They cheered for Ryu Jung-seok, saying he was just old and needed a few more tries to succeed. Lee Jian was confused, not understanding why they said such nonsense. Ryu Jung-seok was embarrassed, pulling her into the car. The aunts joked behind them, saying such things weren't appropriate in a car. Ryu Jung-seok ultimately couldn't resist Lee Ji-an's pleas and followed her to the old house. Inside, the house was bare, except for its frame. He thought the repairs would be extremely difficult, and urged her to give up. Lee Jian remained optimistic, believing Ryu Jung-seok would eventually agree. Back at home, Lee Jian saw her friend had arrived. She immediately realized it was Lee Hyo-ri who sent the friend to persuade her to leave. She ignored Lee Hyo-ri's intentions, and took the friend to see the old house. The friend's reaction was the same as Ryu Jung-seok's. She doubted the house could be habitable, its repairs nearly as hard as rebuilding. But Lee Jian excitedly described the layout and purpose of the house, even planning a restaurant in the empty space. She hoped the friend could open a shop there using her cooking skills. The friend didn't want to crush her enthusiasm. She also wanted to stay by her side, eager to see the house finished. Meanwhile, Lee Hyo-ri was taken to the flower field by Ryu Bo-hyun to work. After finishing, Ryu Bo-hyun gave her payment. The envelope was stamped with, "You did great," as a reward. Lee Hyo-ri declined, saying she was just helping and didn't need payment. Ryu Bo-hyun held her hand, refusing to let her refuse. He explained that he paid other villagers who worked too. A village friend invited Ryu Bo-hyun and Lee Hyo-ri to go surfing. Ryu Bo-hyun remembered Lee Hyo-ri nearly drowning last time. He quickly said Lee Hyo-ri couldn't swim. But Lee Hyo-ri wanted to try something new, and insisted on going. At the beach, Ryu Bo-hyun and his friends had fun. A friend taught Lee Hyo-ri surfing. Lee Hyo-ri tried again and again, failing each time. The friend saw she had no talent for it, and suggested swapping the surfboard for a float. Just play in the water instead. Lee Hyo-ri refused to give up. After a short break, she grabbed the surfboard and walked back into the sea. This time, she finally stood up on the board. She happily enjoyed her victory. Ryu Bo-hyun couldn't help but smile at her persistence. He was glad for her. After learning from Ryu Bo-hyun that Lee Hyo-ri was sick, Ryu Bo-hyun hoped Lee Hyo-ri and her mother would be happy at home. He asked Ryu Jung-seok to look after them. Lee Jian felt Ryu Jung-seok was only helping out of pity. Ryu Jung-seok quickly explained that his work had been delayed, leaving him free. Lee Jian sighed in relief. Either way, she was grateful. Before bed, Lee Hyo-ri asked Lee Jian when her vacation would end. Lee Jian honestly replied that she had quit her job. She wouldn't return to Seoul, she would stay here with her daughter. Lee Hyo-ri angrily asked her mother if she was staying out of fear that she might suddenly die. She was already exhausted and didn't have the energy to manage her mother's life. She hoped her mother wouldn't add to her burden. Lee Jian countered, asking if Lee Hyo-ri would abandon her if she fell ill. Lee Hyo-ri coldly replied that if her mother expected her to, then yes. Seeing the argument escalate, the friend told Lee Hyo-ri the truth. Lee Jian had been fired from her company. She was wrongly accused in a theft case and deeply hurt by the injustice. Lee Hyo-ri pressed her mother, asking if she had fought back or just accepted it like a fool. At that moment, Lee Hyo-ri suddenly clutched her head in pain. After the pain passed, she still wanted them to live apart. They only argued endlessly. It would be better to meet only when necessary. The next morning, Lee Jian and her friend prepared to leave. They told Lee Hyo-ri to eat breakfast herself, but they found her shivering on the floor, curled up in pain. They rushed her to the hospital. The doctor diagnosed acute tonsillitis. Once the fever broke, she'd be fine. Lee Jian stayed by her bedside all night. When Lee Hyo-ri woke, her tone remained cold. Lee Jian began recalling the past. When Lee Hyo-ri was in high school, her father died. Her mother had dated 3 men after that. The first was married. The second cheated. The third took her to Vietnam, leaving Lee Hyo-ri behind. The memory of that night being abandoned was burned into her mind. Lee Jian had always described her own mother as kind, wanting to leave her daughter with good memories. But Lee Hyo-ri admitted her real feelings. She hated her mother for always pretending she wasn't tired or struggling. Lee Hyo-ri had no choice but to fake strength too. And it was exhausting. Lee Ji-an wept. She didn't know how to be a good mother. Lee Hyo-ri wasn't her biological child, and her own mother had left her too soon. She had no example to follow. When her mother left, Lee Ji-an hadn't tried to stop her. A regret that haunted her for years. Now, she just wanted Lee Hyo-ri to stay by her side. Lee Hyo-ri apologized for worrying her mother. In truth, she'd been terrified since learning of her illness. Lee Ji-an pulled her daughter into her arms. Lee Hyo-ri buried her face in her mother's shoulder, sobbing. For the first time, their hearts were finally close. No more distance between them. Lee Ji-an and Lee Hyo-ri reconciled, putting their differences behind them. Their best friend was overjoyed. In her excitement, she accidentally revealed Lee Ji-an's plan to renovate the old house. Lee Hyo-ri was used to her mother's unpredictable ways. She immediately demanded to visit the old house. On the way, they ran into Ryu Bo-hyun and his friend, who insisted on joining them. Seeing the dilapidated old house, Lee Hyo-ri gasped. Everyone agreed it wasn't worth rebuilding. Back home, Lee Hyo-ri urged her mother to drop the idea. Lee Ji-an explained that the district office had approved the paperwork. Construction could start as soon as Ryu Jung-sok's design was ready. The two argued, and another fight broke out. Ryu Bo-hyun, who had come to see Lee Hyo-ri, turned away. Lee Ji-an quickly called him back. She put her arm around Lee Hyo-ri's shoulder, explaining they were just having a normal conversation. Lee Hyo-ri returned to Ryu Bo-hyun's flower garden to help. One of his friends secretly liked Ryu Bo-hyun. Lee Hyo-ri's presence made her jealous. She mocked Lee Hyo-ri, calling her a hothouse flower who couldn't leave her mother's side. Lee Hyo-ri retorted that she was tough like a resilient dogtail grass, never to be stepped on. The girl then bluntly admitted she liked Ryu Bo-hyun. Lee Hyo-ri sensed the warning. She replied that she had high standards. On their way back, they passed a small river. He reached out his hand, guiding Lee Hyo-ri to step safely on a stone. Seeing her hesitate, he jumped over to hold her, but they ended up on the same stone. The close space caused him to lose balance and fall into the water. Lee Hyo-ri apologized for stepping wrong. Ryu Bo-hyun apologized too, then pulled her into the water. He wanted to tell Lee Hyo-ri that worrying about wet shoes was pointless, it was better to get soaked. Now she could stop being afraid and move forward bravely. Lee Hyo-ri understood, so she accepted the situation, laughing as she splashed water on Ryu Bo-hyun. They playfully splashed each other, forgetting all their troubles. Back home, Lee Hyo-ri received a message from her best friend. She learned her mother and best friend's aunt would return to Seoul the next day. Lee Hyo-ri decided to go back with them to meet her friend. She arrived at her friend's school. They ate, drank, and played like before. Because she was troubled, Lee Hyo-ri hid her smile. She gathered her thoughts, unsure how to bring it up. Her friend noticed her silence and pressed for details. Finally, Lee Hyo-ri revealed her illness. Her friend took a long time to process the shocking news. She forced herself to stay composed and hugged Lee Hyo-ri. She urged Lee Hyo-ri to live freely from now on. They hugged goodbye. After watching Lee Hyo-ri board the bus, her friend sat in stunned silence for a long time. She finally called her father. All the suppressed pain and sorrow burst out. She cried uncontrollably, repeatedly asking what she should do. Lee Hyo-ri went to the restaurant to find her mother. Lee Ji-an was drinking with her former co-workers. The co-workers had all come after hearing about Lee Ji-an's renovation plans. Everyone wanted to help. Ryu Jung-seok watched as Lee Ji-an joked with the group. He recalled the strong Lee Ji-an from their student days. Years had passed, but she hadn't changed. While Lee Ji-an went out to buy hangover medicine, the co-workers talked about her struggles. When she first arrived at the construction site, no one respected her leadership. They constantly clashed with her. Lee Ji-an was even slapped by a client. Things changed one day at the cafeteria. Everyone overheard Lee Ji-an call Lee Hyo-ri, who was sick. She told Lee Hyo-ri to take care of herself in the hospital alone. After hanging up, Lee Ji-an quietly cried. That moment made them realize how hard her life was. They slowly accepted her. Gradually, they were won over by her character. In the end, they became true friends. Lee Hyo-ri felt heavy and conflicted after hearing all this. On the way home, she stayed silent. But the drunk Lee Ji-an acted wild. She kept moving forward in the back seat. She excitedly told Ryu Jung-seok that he would be the first man to enter her home. Lee Hyo-ri went to make hangover soup and asked Ryu Jung-seok to watch over her mother first. Lee Ji-an was unsteady and restless. She cupped Ryu Jung-seok's face, praising him for never changing. He was as handsome as ever, she said, adding that she liked him very much. Ryu Jung-seok felt flustered, but the next moment, Lee Ji-an looked at Lee Hyo-ri's photo and sighed. She didn't know whether to face reality or run from it. Even though things weren't good, she pretended everything was fine. Ryu Jung-seok understood that feeling. Years ago, when his wife left him, little Ryu Bo-hyun cried, refusing to let her go. He pulled Ryu Bo-hyun aside and told him his wife had a flight to catch no more tantrums. Back then, he wasn't okay either, yet he pretended nothing was wrong. Lee Hyo-ri settled her mother into bed. Ryu Jung-seok took the chance to sketch the house layout. He asked Lee Hyo-ri why she opposed the renovation. After thinking, Lee Hyo-ri answered that her mother had never lived for herself. She always put Lee Hyo-ri first. Seeing her mother make that choice again made her angry and hurt. Ryu Jung-seok admitted he had asked Lee Ji-an why she wanted to renovate the house. Lee Ji-an said it was to live happily with Lee Hyo-ri. After seeing Ryu Jung-seok off, Lee Hyo-ri lay beside her mother. She recalled the bitter tears she shed years ago when she was hospitalized alone. Back then, she resented her mother for not staying with her because of work. Now she realized how much harder it was for her mother to worry while working. Lee Ji-an woke up to find Lee Hyo-ri had made breakfast. Lee Hyo-ri finally agreed to renovate the house, even changing the plans so her bedroom wouldn't be too far from her mother's. The construction team worked quickly. Lee Ji-an supervised the quality herself. Her best friend, a chef, prepared meals to support them. With everyone's effort, the house was soon finished. Ryu Bo-hyun and his friends helped with the move. When everything was settled, their new home was complete. As warm light filled their dream home, Lee Ji-an cried tears of joy. She hugged her best friend and Lee Hyo-ri. Finally, her wish to give Lee Hyo-ri a new home was fulfilled. That night, the mother and daughter were too excited to sleep. Lee Hyo-ri walked over to her mother. She had been watching her all day. Her mother wasn't eating or resting properly. Lee Hyo-ri took her mother's hand. Hard work was good, but they deserved to live with dignity. If her grandmother hadn't taught her mother, she would teach her now. She hoped her mother would understand. More than anyone else in the world, her mother deserved to value herself. Lee Ji-an cherished this heart-to-heart moment with her daughter. But suddenly, 2 stray dogs barked and charged into the yard. At the same time, the yard lights flickered and went out. As the dogs lunged forward, mother and daughter screamed in terror, clinging to each other. The expected attack never came. The lights suddenly turned back on. A woman walked toward them slowly. She threw a sausage far away, distracting the dogs. Then she waved at Lee Ji-an. She even called Lee Ji-an daughter. Lee Ji-an stared bewildered at the aunt who suddenly appeared, claiming her mother had passed away long ago. Lee Hyo-ri had seen the aunt before. After arguing with Lee Ji-an, she was crying alone by the sea when the aunt mysteriously appeared beside her. At the time, she didn't know who the aunt was. Villagers rushed over upon hearing the news. They told Lee Ji-an the aunt lived in the grand house behind the village forest. They recalled 2 years ago, when the aunt and her husband had ridden their tractor after returning from the beach. The aunt quietly replied that her husband was dead. The villagers thought she was confused and helped her home. That night, Lee Ji-an tossed and turned, remembering the police call years ago. They informed her her mother had died in Vietnam and asked for family contact. She coldly denied knowing anyone, but hung up and collapsed to the floor in tears. The pain still felt fresh. Her friend prepared a lavish feast for Lee Ji-an and Lee Hyo-ri, showcasing dishes for their soon-to-open restaurant. After dinner, Lee Ji-an suggested asking Ryu Bo-hyun to tidy the garden. The friend doubted his scholarly appearance meant he could handle physical labor. Lee Hyo-ri countered that it signaled efficiency, not weakness. Seizing the moment, Lee Ji-an assigned Lee Hyo-ri a tough task, negotiating a discount with Ryu Bo-hyun. Ryu Bo-hyun, overhearing, agreed to give Lee Ji-an a discount but only if she provided a helper. Instantly, Lee Ji-an and the friend shoved Lee Hyo-ri forward. Whenever she was near Ryu Bo-hyun, Lee Hyo-ri's face lit up with joy. Lee Ji-an and her friend knew exactly what she was feeling. Ryu Bo-hyun tried to teach Lee Hyo-ri how to pull weeds, but failed multiple times himself. Lee Hyo-ri stepped in to help, but they both fell over when they pulled too hard. Lee Hyo-ri ended up in Ryu Bo-hyun's arms, their close contact making both of their hearts race. Sensing the awkwardness, Lee Hyo-ri quickly stood up, waving the weed she'd pulled to boast about being a human weed remover. Ryu Bo-hyun watched Lee Hyo-ri work with growing energy and couldn't help but smile fondly. Meanwhile, Ryu Jeong-seok brought Lee Ji-an the expense settlement details. Lee Ji-an invited him to stay for dinner. While they were sorting out the bills, the aunt showed up uninvited again, complaining that Lee Ji-an had ignored her. Lee Ji-an kept working, but the aunt glanced at the bill and immediately pointed out an error. Ryu Jeong-seok recalculated and confirmed her claim. The aunt slapped Lee Ji-an, telling her to be more efficient even without her mother around. She had to handle things properly. Angered, Lee Ji-an stormed to the door to sit quietly. She remembered calling her mother as a student to sign a parental consent form, only to be scolded for bothering her. Her mother had told her to fake the signature herself and warned her to accept reality and manage her future efficiently. The friend and Lee Hyo-ri in the room were cooking for the aunt, but didn't notice her turning on the gas stove. Flames instantly engulfed the curtains. Hearing the shouts, Ryu Jeong-seok rushed in to put out the fire. The aunt walked up to Lee Ji-an, rolled up her sleeve to show an old scar, and claimed her arm was injured. Lee Ji-an finally snapped. She had tolerated the aunt's behavior out of pity for her illness, but now she'd had enough. She forced the aunt to give her family's phone number or threatened to call the police. The aunt instead asked if Lee Ji-an was angry because she arrived late. Lee Ji-an accused her mother of abandoning her to run off with another man for her own happiness, only to die in an accident. The aunt's presence constantly reminded her of this, causing daily pain. She demanded the aunt stop talking nonsense. Seeing the aunt trembling, Lee Hyo-ri scolded Lee Ji-an for being too harsh. In her anger, Lee Ji-an accused Lee Hyo-ri of not understanding how she'd endured it all. She had no right to tell her to be patient. Lee Hyo-ri stormed out. Ryu Jeong-seok escorted the aunt home. On the way, he recalled an old memory. Years ago, Lee Ji-an's drunken mother had sprawled on the ground, shouting that she was an actress and no one could judge her. When Lee Ji-an came to take her home, the mother sobbed, refusing to leave, lamenting that she was meant to shine, not suffer here. Feeling helpless amid the Waegwen crowd, Lee Ji-an had been saved when Ryu Jeong-seok appeared and helped her take her mother home. To comfort her, he'd given her an apple and patted her head. The scene returned to the present. Ryu Jeong-seok arranged for someone to repair the gas pipes and rallied the villagers to help Lee Ji-an and her friend tidy the restaurant, ensuring it would open on schedule. Feeling Ryu Jeong-seok's care, Lee Ji-an was overwhelmed with warmth. Meanwhile, Lee Hyo-ri, still upset, went camping in the mountains with Ryu Bo-hyun. To lift her spirits, Ryu Bo-hyun took her to stargaze. Lee Hyo-ri was mesmerized by the breathtaking view, her mood lifting. Ryu Bo-hyun shared that after his parents' divorce, his mother moved to Germany, and they only met during school breaks. When he missed her, he'd come here, convincing himself she was an alien protecting her planet. Even with excuses, he envied Lee Hyo-ri for a mother who tirelessly tried to stay close. He urged her to hug Lee Ji-an after returning home, to cherish the mother who truly loved her. Lee Hyo-ri confided that Lee Ji-an wasn't her birth mother but her adoptive mother. Her birth mother and Lee Ji-an were childhood friends, inseparable since they were young. Her birth mother, an unwed mother, had passed away in a car accident. Since then, Lee Ji-an had raised her as a single mother. Despite no blood ties, they worked harder to bond, their relationship even closer than most mother-daughter pairs. But sometimes, she felt sad no matter how hard she tried. Lee Ji-an seemed to never understand her. As another child abandoned by his mother, Ryu Bo-hyun understood Lee Ji-an's pain. Worse than the moment her mother left was the endless waiting, knowing she'd never return yet still clinging to the hope. After sharing their hearts, Ryu Bo-hyun pulled Lee Hyo-ri up, their distance closing again. He blurted out, "You're beautiful," then hastily lied, "I meant the stars." Back home, Lee Hyo-ri nestled in her mother's arms, showing her the stars. The earlier quarrel melted away as they hugged. Lee Hyo-ri took a photo of Lee Ji-an but suddenly blurred her vision. Gripped by pain, she collapsed. Lee Ji-an rushed her to the hospital, guilt gnawing at her for not spotting her illness sooner. She called her friend, arranging the restaurant's opening, then remembered Ryu Jeong-seok's promise to be her pillar. He'd been cooking when she called and hung up before he could answer. As he dialed back, his long-lost ex-wife suddenly appeared at the door. Ryu Jeong-seok demanded an explanation from his ex-wife. She claimed she was in South Korea on business for 2 to 3 months and wanted to stay at home with Ryu Bo-hyun. Angered by her self-centeredness, Ryu Jeong-seok stormed outside to clear his head and called Lee Ji-an back. Learning Lee Hyo-ri was hospitalized, he worried about Lee Ji-an, who was bearing everything alone. He reassured her, "Call me anytime." Inside, the mother and son hadn't met in 2 years. The ex-wife was overjoyed, but Ryu Bo-hyun asked her to consider how her excitement might burden others. Ignoring him, She paraded through the village, chatting loudly with the aunties, hinting she might stay if things went well. Ryu Jung-seok warned her this was his and Ryu Bo, Hyun's home, urging her to avoid gossip and trouble. Unaware, Lee Ji-yeon wheeled Lee Hyo-ri through tests, lost in the hospital maze. Just as Lee Hyo-ri paused to catch her breath, the aunt appeared with a wheelchair, smoothly adjusting the IV drip as if she knew the routine. After the checkup, the aunt escorted the mother-daughter pair back to the ward. Lee Ji-yeon asked why she was here, but the aunt received a call and left without answering. The aunt met a hospital professor, confiding she was severely ill and trusted only him. She arranged urgent matters, then asked the professor to watch over Lee Hyo-ri. Soon, the professor arrived, transferring Lee Hyo-ri to a private room. Confused, Lee Ji-yeon demanded an explanation. The professor revealed the aunt was once a professor here, trying to compensate them for the restaurant fire. Lee Ji-yeon asked if the aunt had family. The professor said her husband died last year, and her only daughter lived in the US. After her father's death, the daughter urged her to move to America together. With 2 months left before retirement, the aunt rushed to the airport, only to learn her daughter had died in a crash mid-flight. The trauma triggered psychosis. Lee Ji-yeon shared the story with Lee Hyo-ri. Both were moved. Later, as they bought instant noodles, they found the aunt disoriented in the lobby. Mistaking Lee Ji-yeon for her daughter, the aunt gripped her hand. Lee Ji-yeon went along, flanked by Lee Hyo-ri, guiding her back. When the aunt regained clarity, she apologized. Lee Hyo-ri invited her to eat noodles together. Back to her usual self, the aunt ordered Lee Ji-yeon to buy pickles and sausages. The next day, Lee Hyo-ri's test results arrived. The brain tumor hadn't grown. Surgery was pending. The aunt reassured them. Trust the doctor, not Cam. Pleased by her praise, the doctor escorted her out respectfully, even taking her advice. Lee Ji-yeon and Lee Hyo-ri sighed. It's good to have someone to rely on. The two returned to the ward to pack and prepare for discharge. Lee Ji-yeon was about to handle the formalities when the aunt walked in with the discharge papers, stating all procedures were done and the remaining fees paid. The aunt said, I did something wrong to you. I can't promise it won't happen again. This is my apology. Lee Hyo-ri bowed in gratitude, while Lee Ji-yeon, flustered, made an excuse and slipped away. Lee Ji-yeon drove them home in the aunt's car, gazing at the two sleeping side by side, feeling genuine happiness as if she finally had a mother. To repay the aunt, she and her friend invited her to a restaurant. When the aunt refused, they took her arms and led her there. At home, Lee Ji-yeon spotted Ryu Jung-seok visiting Lee Hyo-ri, who had left for a friend's birthday party. Ryu Jung-seok warmly asked about Lee Ji-yeon's hospital stay. His ex-wife, in the car, sensed the unusual atmosphere between them. Lee Ji-yeon noticed her and asked who she was, but Ryu Jung-seok said, I'll explain later. Lee Ji-yeon learned from her friend that the woman in the car was Ryu Bo, Hyun's mother, who looked almost identical to him. Lee Ji-yeon felt a little down. Then the aunt suddenly said, I didn't have a good impression of Ryu Bo, Hyun's mother. Instantly, Lee Ji-yeon's mood lifted. She enthusiastically added more meat to the aunt's plate, who teased her for being childish. Meanwhile, Lee Hyo-ri arrived at the party. Hearing Ryu Bo Hyun was by the sea, she rushed to find him only to witness a girl confessing to him. Rejected, the girl suspected Lee Hyo-ri was the reason. Ryu Bo Hyun clarified, Lee Hyo-ri is seriously ill. I just want to take care of her. Heartbroken, Lee Hyo-ri walked away and sat alone for a long time. Then she stepped into the heavy rain, calling her mother. Should I give up or face what I want? Her mother replied, face it, don't back down. Encouraged, Lee Hyo ran off to find Ryu Bo Hyun. When she paused, exhausted, Ryu Bo Hyun rushed toward her. He pulled her under his raincoat and ran back to the greenhouse, gently drying her face with a towel. The close proximity made the atmosphere tense. Lee Hyo-ri grasped his hand and voiced her doubt. Is your kindness pity, or do you like me?